Howdy, howdy. We are live on a Friday night with a brand new installment of the Tex-Trek podcast with Stan from the Salon on board.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And I'm excited to talk about this episode of a show I really love, Deep Space Nine, but an episode that doesn't get a lot of conversation, or at least not a lot of constructive conversation.
Oh, I'm going to fix that.
But yeah, no, there's a lot that I appreciate in this one, and Taylor and I, as well as you, Stan, we're all Keiko defenders. So
yes.
Hashtag Keiko defenders unite. Let's do this thing. I'm Fatheree.
I'm Pah-wraiths Stanley.
I'm Miss Taylor.
And this is Tex-Trek.
Engage.
Welcome back aboard the Starship Texas for the 329th installment of the Tex-Trek podcast, the home of Star Trek fandom from deep in the heart of Texas, where we take a deep look at Star Trek, old and new. Tonight, we have yet another backtracking retrospective. We are taking a look at Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Season 5, Episode 5, The Assignment, teleplay by Bradley Thompson and David Weddle, a story by Robert Lederman and David R. Long, directed by Allan Kroeker. We'll get into that in just a moment, but I'm very excited to have Stan from the Salon on board this week.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
And I am really curious to talk about this episode with you because I know that this is a big favorite of yours.
I love this episode. It is a comfort watch. I've seen it so many times. It is depending on the theme of a ranking, it's always in the top 5. My absolute favorite is also in this season, The Darkness and the Light, but I love this episode. The only delta in this episode for me is that Kira's not in it, which I'm pretty sure is because Nana was giving birth in real life when they filmed this one.
Right. Yeah, she didn't actually deliver until they were shooting Let He Was Without Sin, but yeah, she started having some complications or something. They had to write her out last minute, but but I know that your least favorite Deep Space Nine character, Worf, is only in it for one scene. So,
and I love that. It's one scene too many, but it's fine, and he's showing concern for someone else, which is a nice turn for him.
A very Stan take. If people have seen Stan talk about Worf before, then you know that tracks. But
I hate him so much. And next week on the Salon, we're currently doing a series of what we call a level 2 diagnostic for our coverage of 2-parters. And in May, we're doing TNG. Next week, we're doing Redemption. And I was just starting my watch today before I watched The Assignment. And God, I hate Worf. Like, Kern had a plan to take over the Empire, and we should have just let him do it. And Worf was like, "No, we're gonna support this guy."
So you would have killed the Duras nephew. You wouldn't have spared him. Like Worf is pretty cool there, right?
It wouldn't have been necessary. Kern had a plan to take Gowron out because nobody liked him. He only won because Worf went and avenged Kalar, which I did support.
Because everybody loves Kalar.
Yes. Justice for Kalar.
Well, hashtag should have listened to Kern.
Yes.
But I'll let you talk more about your Worf opinions in a moment when we get to that scene. But before we dive into The Assignment, just a bit of quick housekeeping. First and foremost, huge thank you and shout out to the wonderful Tex-Trek Patreon supporters who keep our weekly show going. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, Starfleet Sohel, Cake is Eternal, Crazy Dutchie, Joanne Robertson, John Dog, Geek Filter, Quarkspar, Stephanie Durantes, Matthew Averett, Braxton, Chuck A, Joel Vallis, Benginium, Arthur Lamoureux, our associate producer, Chris Garris, Dave Farabee, Dave A. Gregory, and our anonymous supporters. And I want to remind everyone that we have monthly Patreon watch parties with our patrons. And we have the next one scheduled for May 17th, watching another Deep Space Nine episode, The Die is Cast. And I also want to mention that if you can support at the bridge crew level or higher at $6 a month, we'll also throw additional watch parties for your birthday. We have a couple of those coming up. I was talking to Aaron, aka Geek Filter, in the live audience, and we were planning on watching a couple of Voyager episodes for his birthday. I believe we're doing what was it? Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy and or Tinker Doctor Soldier Spy, whatever it is for the episode. And what was the other one, Aaron? It was it Critical Care? He'll let me know.
When is his birthday? Tell everybody his private information.
It's like a week away. I don't know if he wants like his birth date out there. But he can let us know in the chat. But
mine's in 2 weeks. Can I cancel his out? Is that how it works? What Patreon level do I need to join to cancel out Aaron's?
Let's set that over 9,000. That's a Dragon Ball Z record.
All right.
That'll
slips or bars?
Yeah, in Latinum. But please check out the Patreon. You can come in as little as $2 a month to get into those monthly watch parties, and if you can afford to be more generous, there are some additional perks as well. But there's not really much Trek news lately. I feel like I say that every week until Strange New Worlds gets here, which we still don't have a release date for. One thing I have seen though lately, before we get into the assignment, just to talk a little bit about the news, is Paramount is doing some real disturbing choices, it seems. So trying to cater to the current Trump regime. They have that big merger deal with David Ellison's company, Skydance, this summer. So like, I see like Paramount is like, oh, we don't want to do this program we had, I think, on CBS that was going to like encourage people to run for office. It's like, oh no, like we don't want to piss off the president, and he might like stop us from our merge. So I'm almost wondering, like, is there stuff in season 3 of Strange New Worlds they're scared will piss off Trump, so they're trying to like push back the season until after the merger goes through, after everything's been okayed?
I would love to believe that, but given how tepid they've been in the first 2 seasons, like, I love it. I want to be very clear. I love Strange New Worlds, but it's been mile wide and inch deep with the allegory. They've been more concerned with rebooting the original series than actually blazing a new trail.
I think so, more with season 2 than season 1. But yeah, season 2 definitely felt like they were playing things a bit more safe. So I'm a little concerned about season 3. But hopefully season 3 comes out soon and proves me wrong, and we all like it. But we'll definitely be talking about that when it happens. But I also want to remind folks that while we don't know exactly when Strange New World season 3 will get here, we do know that at the end of this month there will be the Trek Long Island convention that Taylor and I will both be at. And I want to let everyone know that the convention is so cool to us that they gave us 2 full weekend passes to give away. So anyone in the Tex-Trek audience who would like to attend the Trek Long Island convention, that's coming up in 3 weeks, 3 weeks away, please email me at fathereeactual@tex-trek.com. Put Trek Long Island in the subject line and include your name. Next week on the show, we will announce the winner. We're going to pick a lucky winner to get 2 full weekend passes to Trek Long Island.
It's really cool that y'all are doing that. I haven't been able to make it, but I've heard it's a wonderful convention. It's a smaller, fan-directed convention, lots of cool guests. Really exciting. So everybody email now.
Yeah, you want to go there because we're gonna have a table there, so you can come. You can come talk to Taylor and me at the table. We're doing a couple of panels, so please. And it's also my first time in New York. I've never been to New York before. I'm gonna stop by Manhattan. I don't know how long I'll hang out there, but I'm also going upstate to the set tours.
Oh, nice.
So really looking forward to that. Yep.
Yeah. And if anybody is in this neck of the woods, I'm going to be going to Fan Fest over at Universal to see that Enterprise Bridge that apparently got rebuilt. Did you hear that they rebuilt the Enterprise D Bridge? It was kind of a secret over the last couple of years. So apparently it's over at Universal, and I'm excited to go see it.
Taylor and I thought about doing that, but we decided on Trek Long Island instead. But yeah, I'm definitely envious of everyone checking that out. So please let us know how that is.
I will. I won't go too deep into it on your show, but I wasn't going to go until there was some bitchiness online about it from a certain person in the Trek universe, and so now I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna shell out the $74 and I'm gonna go see that thing.
74. It's pricey, but it's an inverted 47, so not the worst price point.
And you get access to like everything there. Like it's not just a Star Trek thing. They also have a Back to the Future something, and then a couple of other things, and it looks really cool and a good bang for the buck.
Yeah. We thought about going, but maybe next time if they do it again. But the assignment. I'm going to just recap this episode by reading the synopsis I grabbed off Memory Alpha, and then we'll start sharing our thoughts on it. But the synopsis reads, after returning from the fire caves on Bajor, Keiko's body is controlled by an alien life form that forces her husband, O'Brien, to do its bidding or else face the death of his wife. So I feel like this episode must be like the bane of the Keiko haters out there.
It's such a good episode. And being a Keiko hater is a red flag. She had reason to be bitchy with Miles.
I agree.
Yeah. There's definitely like 90s writing tropes for wives going on here. There's definitely like quote nagging going on in some places with her character, but she had reason to nag him and to be bitchy about things. And she gets too much hate. It's a great character, and Rosalind Chao is a national treasure.
I agree.
But it's fun to see the O'Brien must suffer trope, but also like, oh, let's actually like give his wife like a lot of screen time. Like a lot of the O'Brien focused episodes, like we don't really see Keiko and Molly as much. So it's like good opportunity to get. I mean, like there's so much more Rosalind Chao than there is, Avery Brooks or Terry Farrell or Michael Dorn in this episode,
which is fine.
But unfortunately, no Nana visitors. But there was originally like an idea like that, because this was just to remind people, this is kind of at a certain status quo in Deep Space Nine where Odo is solid, and so he's conveniently able to be knocked out.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. Yep.
Kira is living with the O'Briens, though not in this episode because she is with Shakar, because they're in a relationship, but she's pregnant with the O'Brien's baby. So when you go like watch like an episode of DS9 in isolation, you kind of have to be like, wait a minute, what was going on here? Okay, it's before the Dominion War, but it's after they got in the Defiant, and Worf is there. The baby's not born yet. So and
it's not Kira's baby.
It's Sadig's baby, but that's the great line that they have when Kira tells Bashir, like, this is all your fault. And like she's talking about, like doing the transport, but it's actually like, oh no, it's because like he's the father in real life. But Stan, as someone who has said that this is one of your favorite episodes of DS9, I'd like you to give like the first opening statement and just tell us your broad impressions on this episode before we get into the breakdown.
Sure. Well, I do love this episode. It's a comfort watch. It fits really nicely in the middle of the series. It's not necessarily connected to the overall story with the war that's looming, with other big pieces. It just fits really nicely as like a palate cleanser for the longer season-long arcs that are happening now with Deep Space Nine. Like I said, I love Rosalind Chao. I love Keiko. I love that there's very little Worf in this episode. It could certainly use more Kira, but all that aside, the O'Briens have, like, we touched on it a little bit of a bitchy 90s couple tropey vibe, but it's still fun and they still clearly love each other. Like, seeing the love that Miles has for Keiko and him going to such extremes to try and save her is just really cool to see, along with that Miles must suffer trope that's in Deep Space Nine. And there's also, even with the stakes being what they are, there's humor in this episode. And again, Rosalind Chao just acts her whole ass out in this episode, from like the fake aneurysm in the beginning, the fall from the graceful fall from the balcony, and then I love when she's getting electrocuted at the end. It is so funny and so scary at the same time, because you're just like, what's gonna happen to Keiko? And man, it's such a fun episode. And like you said earlier, it fits in the place of the show where if other things had not occurred, like Odo being a solid, then it would have gone very differently. He could not have been knocked out in the same way. So there's a lot of fun stuff happening here, including Rom getting his flowers with being a good engineer. So lots of fun stuff to talk about.
So glad you mentioned Rom. Yeah, he's definitely an episode highlight. Taylor, what about you? What's your take on the assignment?
It's actually funny because Rom is my favorite part of this episode. I'm a really big Rom fan. And I feel like this is like when I finally was like, oh, some like really brilliant Rom, like intellectual stuff. Like, he's really smart and he gets to figure things out and he's like teaching Miles stuff. So I was really into this and loved like Rom opening up with Quark, because I also like Quark and their dynamic is so fun. And but yeah, I really love seeing him be so hardworking and like really trying to fit in and stuff. So I really love that, and how he worked so well into the Miles must suffer, O'Brien must suffer part, of the story, because he comes in kind of like, shining, and it all comes together so well with them working together, and he's kind of like out of it, and then he's solving the issue. So it's so cool. I just really love Rom in this. And of course, the Miles and Keiko stuff is so cool. I love that the writers have multiple times say that Keiko knows Miles better than he knows her. I feel like that's very like that 90s sitcom vibe, and also kind of realistic. And but yeah, I like
there were a lot of married dudes on the DS9 writing staff, so
yeah,
which has I guess some pros and cons came out of that. But
yeah, I also really liked that some of the bigger characters that we see like in larger arcs get smaller roles, but they're still really intelligent and they're used well. Like Dax and Odo in this are kind of like the side characters, but they still like push the plot forward, like in their small moments that they are on screen. And but yeah, so I think it's cool that we have Miles and Rom as like the main characters in this, and then like your larger characters that would typically take up more screen time are like the side characters. So yeah, I feel like I've talked too much now. But yeah, I really enjoy this episode.
Cool. For me, I appreciated this episode probably more after Deep Space Nine finished, and I went back and watched it, and I was like, oh, like Pah-wraiths, they're like a big deal, later in the show. And like a lot of stuff that this episode, it not only like builds upon things that previous episodes set up, but it also like leaves a lot of things for new episodes to pick up and run with, like having Rom, kind of like show off some of his more mechanical brilliance that comes into play. When he sets up the minefield to stop the Dominion from coming through the wormhole, stuff like that. Or again, like what I said with the Pah-wraiths and getting that lore established here, which was just like a throwaway line from earlier in the series about the fire caverns on Bajor. So I love that type of storytelling when shows or like a series of movies or whatever, like they don't necessarily have everything mapped out, but they're able to write in a way that it all kind of makes sense and connects. And when you look back, it looks like, oh, they might have been thinking these long arcs out the entire time. But I have never really like understood all the Keiko hate. I mean, a lot of it does come from like, okay, we're kind of conditioned as audience members not to like the nagging wife, right? When you watch Married with Children, you're kind of supposed to root for Al Bundy more than Peggy, I guess.
Absolutely not. Could not disagree more, but I understand the point.
I'm not saying I agree with that, but
I love her.
I mean, I think she was a great character in her own right, too. But I think some people, you know, like there's two scenes in this episode that, depending on who I'm watching it with, like they'll just burst out laughing, and it's when Keiko does like the fakes her death, I guess, kind of thing, and then again when she's electrocuted later. But I love Rosalind Chao just like you just throwing herself out. It's like
she gracefully falls on her arm perfectly, just like taking a nap. It's great. It's cheesy as hell, and it would not work today. They would definitely like, let's do another take. But it's so funny.
I like that bigger than life Star Trek, though. I like I like Kirk having to play like he's a Bronco about to buck off a little person in Plato's Stepchildren. Like, I like seeing these actors just say like, fuck it, I'm going all in 100%. Let's do it.
That's another great thing about this episode overall. It is quintessential Trek. It's an alien taking over one of our characters that we know being different, and like we've been talking about, getting some character growth for others in ways that aren't like Rom gets a lot of development in this episode, even though he's not in all of it. My favorite tidbit on this rewatch is like like he provides exposition on the Pah-wraiths, but the thing that I love about that is through the commentary that Lita says, I'm a good listener. He's showing like, oh, he's going to be a good partner to her. Like it's laying some groundwork that's going to pay off later. It's going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go ahead and get into the episode breakdown. We'll just start with the beginning of the episode and work our way through beat by beat. So we open with Quark and Morn in the bar. You know, nothing better than breakfast in the bar. And then Rom comes in to get bacon and eggs with corned beef hash instead of his usual puree of beetle. But Rom's really enjoying his new job working the night shift on the waste extraction system. This is after he was a union organizer in the bar for a little bit, and then ended up leaving to go work in engineering. And you get more kind of like that Quark kind of you know, he's still hoping Rom will come crawling back to him, but this isn't really a B story because it ends up tying into the A story. So
I really love how positive Rom is in this, and Quark is like so disgruntled and stuff, but Rom just like never backs down. Like, I love how bubbly and like happy he is, and he just, I just love his personality so much.
I love this relationship. These brothers, like this relationship doesn't get talked enough about when we talk about Deep Space Nine overall, because like even when they're fighting, there's some deep love here. Mm-hmm. And it's just really well written, really fun. Like, I love this moment when Rom orders quickly and then like gives his brother a side eye, like, is he gonna be okay? Is he gonna be mad at me? It's so cute.
Mm-hmm. It's so well done.
Yeah, and I want that breakfast. I want to wake up and live on a station like Deep Space Nine, where I can just like walk into this bar, and I would love to start my day having bacon and eggs and corned beef hash with Morn at Quark's. And then we also get the bonsai tree scene where Miles is it's like, oh no, the wife is coming home and my friend has killed all of her trees. How am I going to explain this?
This is one of the, like, rewatching this today, I was like, he tried to get his daughter to tell his wife.
What? I was like, wow, he's gonna let his daughter take the fall. Like,
I doubt he's the first parent to pull that move.
Oh, for sure. I also, it's so funny, like, this obviously wasn't what was in the back of their mind. Like, this wasn't a seed that they were planting for later with Julian, but now rewatching it, knowing what we know, I have to wonder if in universe, did he kill those plants on purpose to look kind of dumb like to just throw people, like they can't think I'm too brilliant, otherwise they might figure out my secret. I need to kill these plants, so I just look a little silly.
I never thought of that. I was always thinking it was just kind of like that doctor arrogance where he just kind of like, oh, I'm a really smart dude. I probably know what's best. These plants look a little dry. I better, my foolish friend Miles, I better help him out and water them. I think it was like that. So.
Also, why was he in their quarters without Miles?
I mean,
when could he have watered those plants without Miles being like, hey, don't do that?
Maybe he was like tag teaming like Molly childcare because Keiko's gone, and if Miles is working, who's looking after her? Maybe.
I would not want Julian watching my children, but I think you might be right. Yeah, Joanne nails it. It's weaponized incompetence, which Miles and Julian are perfect.
They're masters.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, oh, the wife is gone. I guess my boyfriend can come over, I guess, if that's how you want to headcanon it.
Yes.
But Keiko arrives on the station. We don't know that she's possessed by a Pah-wraith, but we figure it out. I mean, like, we're told pretty quickly. But it's fun after you know that, if you watch that first scene with her, because they're standing in front of the window in front of the wormhole, and it's like, oh, that Pah-wraith is looking at the wormhole thinking like, I'm about to go home to the celestial.
It's beautiful foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Great choice from the director and the DP for sure.
I want to go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. It's just because I love when she says the same line Julian said. They're just plants, which is like, for us as the audience, something's wrong, because for Keiko, they're not just plants.
Right. Yeah. It's the first sign that something's a little off with her. I want to ask,
just plants.
I want to ask y'all though, what do you think when she starts telling Miles like, okay, I'm actually an alien possessing your wife's body, and if you don't do exactly as I tell you, I'm gonna kill her? And he thinks she's trying to play some sexy game with, he's like, oh, I guess we're role playing, So, what do y'all think of that?
It makes me laugh because it makes me wonder, is this normal behavior for them? Like, for him to react that way is like, oh, this is something they do sometimes. Good for them. Healthy,
or maybe something he always wanted to do. He's like, oh, finally, we're finally getting into this.
Yes, I finally get my. But like, just the way Rosalind delivers the line, it is both cold and funny. Like, it's camp. Like, she does camp in this episode so well, and I just fucking love this doofus being like, oh, well, who are you? It's horrific, but it is so funny.
Taylor, what about you? Any thoughts on Miles encountering the Pah-wraith? She also does that thing where she like fakes her, I guess not fakes Keiko's death, but demonstrates her ability to kill Keiko.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. Like, I mean, I don't really have much to add, but I did think that it was scary. Like, once we find out that she is possessed, I was worried about Keiko like immediately. She was very threatening and very dramatic display of hurting Keiko. So, yeah.
I think it does stand out, though. I think one of the reasons why it gets such a big reaction from people when they see this is because you typically expect Keiko just to say something that's like kind of funny in a cheesy 90s sitcom way, and then walk off screen and not have much of a role in the rest of the episode. So it's weird to see like something big dramatic come from her character.
Yeah.
And I think the unexpected nature of it kind of adds to that laugh factor I talk about, but. I always think this is a pretty serious episode, though. Like when they get in that turbo lift ride, it feels very tense and high stakes. And what I love about it is that kind of realistic detail when she says, like, I mean, if you try to knock me out, you might get away with it, but it only takes me a second to kill your wife. Do you really want to risk that?
Right.
Yeah.
I also like in this scene when he tells the Pah-wraith like he won't do anything to jeopardize the station or anyone on it, and she's like, "Don't worry," like because she's not asking for those things. So I think that's actually really interesting. Like the Pah-wraith isn't lying to Miles that like anything that Miles does that she asks like isn't going to jeopardize the station or anyone on it. It's going to jeopardize the people or the prophets in the wormhole, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
technically didn't lie.
Yeah, and it's structured really great because one thing about I've said this before on the Salon, like most episodes of Trek, I love them all, most of them, but you can find bits where like, well, why didn't they do this? That doesn't make sense. Like they forget that they have shuttles all the time. Not in this show, but like they did such a good job in the writing of this episode of like, okay, we need to make it clear to the audience. Oh, we can't just use force fields. You can't do there's no techno babble that's going to work in this particular situation. And so you get ahead of the audience wondering like, well, why doesn't he just stun her when she's not looking? It's like, well, she makes it clear that she can kill Keiko in a split second.
And then Julian comes by their quarters to apologize for killing the plants. This kind of cracks me up. I love that he had like a little bow. He like wrapped some ribbon around the apology plant that he gives Keiko. But also when he arrives, Miles is and I get like from Miles's perspective, he's like, not now, Julian. I'm dealing with something like big and scary. I don't want my wife to die. Like, leave us alone. But when Julian comes by, he's just like, "Are you busy?" And O'Brien's like, "Yes, we are. Get out of here. Go away."
And again, Julian showing he's not a good partner. He should have known something was up with his boyfriend.
That's true.
And then we get the reveal of the surprise party that Keiko. This Pah-wraith is so effed up, just being like, "Oh, your wife worked so hard for the surprise party," and now it's funny. Like Miles thought, like, "Oh, is Keiko role playing with me?" But what is actually happening is this evil creature that possessed his wife is role playing his wife. He's having to act out this role play with like with someone who's not his wife. It's really like it's almost kind of rapey if you look at it that way. It's a really messed up O'Brien must suffer concept.
Yeah, I also think it's kind of funny that the Pah-wraith like leans in, like it's like, oh yeah, we're having a party and we're gonna keep going through with this, and like I don't know, like it almost like seems like the Pah-wraith is excited to like be hosting this event, and she's like such a great actress. Like the Pah-wraith is like acting so well. Like there's so many times like whenever the other people are in the scenes, and I'm like, man, I could imagine that is Keiko. Like like that Pah-wraith can like. They know all of Keiko's memories, so they notice like all these tiny details that Keiko would, and so it's so interesting. Like it makes me think sometimes that Keiko is like talking to the Pah-wraith. Like I know she kind of mentions at the end that she felt like she was in sand and stuff, but if like the Pah-wraith really just knew exactly how Keiko would act, like I think it was pretty impressive, to be honest.
Yeah. And psychotic. And I love it. That Pah-wraith is a messy bitch, and I love it.
Yeah.
She's like, she's going to experience all of this corporeal nonsense while she can. She's like, all right, I've got a plan. I'm gonna kill all of my compatriots in the wormhole, and then I'm gonna take back over. But before then, I'm gonna eat these chocolates. I'm gonna kiss my husband. I'm gonna have a surprise party for him with all of his friends. And I'm going to torture him a little bit by making him do what I need him to do to kill all my enemies. It's psychotic, and I love it. It is so funny that she's like, okay, well, she planned a surprise party, and we can't let anybody know anything's up. So I'm going to play hostess, and she makes food. This Pah-wraith, this bitch makes food for her husband's friends.
Yeah, she leans in for sure.
It's amazing.
Well, let's
boo
Rachel
for
a little bit.
Just kidding. That was funny.
What did Rachel say?
The Pah-wraith wanted to party. Boo, but funny.
We'll take it. We like bad wordplay on this show. Let's talk about Rom and engineering for a little bit. So it's his big day. He's all happy. He's all cheesing, big stupid grin on his face because he gets to be on the swing shift, and everyone else is just like, "Oh yeah, we're at work. Like, we're just here till the end of the shift. Like, we're not all gung ho about it like you are." But it reminded me of like when I was in high school. There was a fast food joint I really wanted to work at. I got a job as a cook at this local fast food place called Texas Burger. It was like I feel like I looked like Rom my first day of work there. I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like I get to work here and cook all the hamburgers and cook the French fries, and everyone else is just like, just get to work, kid. Like, shut up. Like this isn't fun for us.
Rack de Gino.
That's what they drink on the swing shift.
It makes me want to try one so bad. Like they bring up Ractogino's like every episode in DS9, and it just makes me crave like some kind of crazy coffee situation. Like I want to try one.
I've had a few. Like a lot of Star Trek events have some Ractogino concoctions. So.
We had like espresso martinis called Ractogino's when we were in San Fran, but cute. I want to know like what it actually tastes like. What is,
you'd have to get like Klingon coffee beans.
I know. I'll never know, and I'm mad about it.
It's an imaginary drink. You just have to imagine what it tastes like. But during their little like work meeting before the shift starts, so Brian is basically just giving them like a lot of busy work because the Pah-wraith has given him these instructions of modifications on the station to make. So he's trying to keep the rest of his staff distracted, and while O'Brien is working on that, he's also trying to Google ways to like, what are some ways to like make my spouse unconscious on the computer.
Don't look at your search history.
Always makes me laugh / cringe a little bit because I'm like, surely there's some kind of like safety parameter, like where if he's asking like these questions that like the computer flags like these specific things, like to be, I don't know, maybe have a therapist go and check him out or like, I don't know, potential like spousal abuse, from these questions that he's asking.
I love your notion, Taylor, of like let a mental health expert deal with that and not like law enforcement. Like that's how we should organize our society to operate. But
yeah, because you're absolutely right, Taylor. I mean, he's literally Googling how do I incapacitate my wife.
Yeah, it's incredibly scary.
Yeah,
the computer like allows them to have these questions and is like answering like yes, it will take 0.9 seconds for the phaser to stun your wife, and it's like
the privacy.
They could have taken it a step further and be like, actually, what you should do instead is.
Oh man,
privacy is so inconsistent in Star Trek because like they clearly don't look at your search history. They clearly don't have security cameras all over the place, but your medical history. Or like your logs, or like those are like open to the public. It looks like,
or like date of birth is in your service record, and then it's not for Tuvok or Malcolm Reed for some reason. Like, do you get to say when you join Starfleet, don't tell anybody my birthday?
I don't know.
Depending on species, maybe.
But Miles's birthday party, everyone who shows up seems to be having a good time. Like Sisko is like, oh, Keiko has really outdone herself. Miles is like, oh, Molly had like a fashion emergency, and your wife is so brilliant. She was able to take care of things. And the Caporal is great, apparently, whatever the hell that is.
I also hot take about singing on birthdays. The happy birthday song, or for He's a Jolly Good Fellow, which they've sung twice in this show. They do it fine here, but I have a hot take about singing on a birthday. It should not be that monotonous happy birthday. I fucking hate that. Me and Kristen Bell, we are on a mission. If you're gonna sing upbeat, up-tempo, it's a celebration, and they do it well here, singing for He's a Jolly Good Fellow. More of that. More of psychotic Keiko, please.
This was, of course, before the birthday song was public domain, so they didn't want to shell out for the rights to use it. So we get the He's a Jolly Good Fellow song instead. It's also interesting in this scene to me that Sisko seems to notice that Miles might be distracted or something. There's not a ton of Sisko in this episode, but I like what Avery Brooks does with his presence in the couple scenes he is in.
Yeah, he's definitely observant and is worried and cares about Miles. So I think that's an awesome thing to see from Captain Sisko. And I think that's also something pretty consistent with his character, that he notices slight changes to the people around him. I also want to point out, I think it was funny when Jake was saying to the Pah-wraith that he's always wanted to meet a Pah-wraith, obviously not knowing that he's talking to one, but also not knowing that he's going to be possessed by one. So
I think that's why they do it.
It's so good.
Great.
I think that's why the Pah-wraiths, like, not only is he like the son of the emissary, but also like, you want to meet a Pah-wraith? I'll show you a Pah-wraith.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun to see Jake like as a young adult. Like I think he's 18 at this point in early season 5, and so he's starting to like associate, like, he can be like friends with Odo and talk about more like adult things and not just be like yelled at for loitering on the promenade,
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of tension, like when you see like Jake talking to Pah-wraith possessed Keiko, and then like the stuff with Molly, like that's so stressful to me now. Like I don't think when I was younger watching this episode it would have bothered me as much, but now when I see it, I was like, oh my god, like just imagining, I don't know what it's like to have a kid and have to like witness them be in potentially dangerous situations, but as someone who can be anxious at times, it's a frightening scenario to me. It's kind of anxiety inducing just to think about. That's when he has the moment where he breaks the glass in his hand. I want to point out he's drinking single malt Irish whiskey. I hate that later Deep Space Nine they make him a Scotch drinker. I was like, what kind of an Irishman is going to take Scotch over Irish whiskey? It's a personal pet peeve of mine.
Well, after the unification and after centuries of reconciliation,
but it's still the Scotch is still gonna taste like smoky bullshit, and the Irish whiskey is still gonna taste delicious. So I would hope. But I just offended all the Scotch fanatics out there. Sorry. But yeah, after the birthday party, they do like their cleanup. Someone pointed out to me how sad it is to see like a half-eaten cake recycled in the replicator.
I think I was watching it with you, and I was like, "Oh, that's too much cake to go back into the replicator."
I loved her commentary. She's like, the Campari was a big hit. Like, you are possessing this woman. She's like,
yeah, but she's like, we just hosted the best party ever.
Imagine Keiko watching this. Like, first of all, like Keiko's got to be so stressed out. Like when Miles is like, "Oh, we're playing some kinky role play," and Keiko's got to be like, "Oh my god, you idiot! I'm possessed!" Like, don't get seduced by this Pah-wraith possessing me. And then later here, when everyone's telling the Pah-wraith, like, "Man, you're such a great cook. This all turned out perfect," and she's like, "No, this is supposed to be my party. I was supposed to be hosting this."
She's just in the back of her mind shaking her head like this.
Right.
Bitch.
But do you also feel like maybe she's a little relieved? Like, oh, it actually all worked out and everyone had a good time. Do you think Keiko's like, wait, should I be more angry or should I be more chill? Like,
she ruined the surprise, but the party went really well.
Yeah, like it's such a random thing. Like, I mean, I can't imagine being in Keiko or being Keiko like hushed in my mind and being like, so this is all happening. Like it's still unfolding, like exactly what I thought was going to be going on. And like, I would just imagine that the Pah-wraith would have canceled the party or something. Like it's almost just like so unbelievable.
You would want him to keep working, right?
Right.
Yeah. It's so psychotic. It's so funny.
It is so creepy and so good. Like I just love that Pah-wraith was just like having the time of their life. Like throwing a party.
It's a little weird.
Starting that singing.
The Pah-wraith would still do the party, but it makes for a really fun, dramatic moment. And it's supposed to be a play on like the if you're not getting along with your partner, but like you got like a bunch of people coming over. Like what do you like? Kind of like oh, like we're fighting, but we got to try to be like sociable. But it's like, it's so much worse than that. Cause it's actually like, no, my spouse is possessed by this evil demon.
So many layers in these scenes. And it is just like, it is so funny to see this possessed woman walk out of her quarters with a cake and be like, for he's a it is awful and fucking hilarious. It is so funny to me.
Well, the next day after the birthday party, Miles wakes up, and this is another cool realistic detail, but it's like if you're in like a bad situation, but you wake up, and then those first few seconds of the day you kind of have peace of mind, and then you remember like, oh shit, I have that thing going on.
Oh, yeah. Like your brain catches up. Yeah.
Yeah, you see that in his face. Like he wakes up and he smiles at his wife, and then he's like, oh no, this is like that evil creature that makes me sleep in bed next to it.
I was actually wondering in this, I was like, does the Pah-wraith even need to sleep? Like they never show the Pah-wraith going to sleep. So is it just there like watching him? Like like his whenever he goes to bed, whenever he goes to bed, like she's still awake, and then whenever he wakes up, like we see that the Pah-wraith is like looming, watching over him as he wakes up. So I didn't even know like for sure if the Pah-wraith even slept.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
The when they flip and show her face in this moment, her deadpan face is so funny. And like Taylor, you're right. I now wonder, like, was she just staring at him all night?
She pulled an Edward Cullen on him.
Yeah, she's like.
In the live audience, Rachel says that she loves possessed Keiko as acting like Barbie coming into the real world in the Barbie movie. So never looked at it that way, but
she's just playing house while her husband gets to work on the weapon to kill her enemies, as you do.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he gets like the real assignment, when the Pah-wraith is like, actually, Miles, these are the modifications I wanted you to make to the station. I was just testing you before. He does attempt to like, okay, fuck it. I'm just going to go talk to Cisco and Odo. And then immediately that plan is stopped by Keiko being thrown off the top deck of the promenade and sent to the infirmary.
So dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
She's a messy bitch, and I love her. I kind of love this Pah-wraith. Like, I wish they didn't kill her. I wish it just like left Keiko's body and we could have gotten like something like it was the same Pah-wraith that ended up in Jake later. It's like, oh, you want to meet a Pah-wraith? Here you go.
Yeah, this was so dramatic. And yeah, I agree with you. Messy and fun.
But it's kind of that that's kind of a neat idea to be like, oh, you're captive is actually role playing as you, like in control of your body, like you're playing both the hostage and the captor at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, in that infirmary conversation when Miles talks to the Pah-wraith, and then like the Pah-wraith makes him kiss her while Julian is in the room. That is so twisted.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So great.
It is.
And so we also get what I always talk about a lot, what I like to call the dramatic ticking clock in this episode. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, you have 36 hours to get this done. This is when we get the Worf scene too. So it's like you were saying, Stan. Worf is being like nice and supportive. He's like, "Oh, I just came to check on Keiko. How's she doing?"
Yeah, the deliverer of their child.
Yeah. But he has a relationship with, Miles and Keiko that predates the show, going back to the Enterprise. So
I always say, like in shows now we were watching and like the baby's about to, be birthed randomly and all these other, that trope. And every time I think of Worf, just like, you cannot. Yes. Like, it's inconvenient. Like,
it is not a good time.
It's not a good time to have this baby. Every time. That trope
I think Keiko says, well, it's not up to me.
Yeah. Oh, I love Keiko. She's so funny.
Why are you not fully dilated?
But then when she is, he says, congratulations, you're now fully dilated. You may now give birth or something like that.
What I've been doing.
Yeah.
There's a couple times when Miles is working in the Jeffries tubes or the the conduit junctions of the station, and then someone like comes like interrupts them. Like we have like Rom pop in, who's like, "Oh, I finished all that busy work you gave me. Is there anything else you want me to do? Want me to work slower? Like, what can I do, boss?"
I love him popping in and being like, "Hey, I'm ready for more work." And
Yeah.
it's like parts of his conversation here like make me chuckle, but also kind of break my heart a little bit because he's like, "Well, Ds need to be very focused when no one bothers to talk to you." Like, ow, that is very painful to hear. Like Rom is so sweet, and like he's trying to make all these connections, like we saw on the swing shift, where he's trying to bond over Ractaginos and stuff, and he's just trying to make friends, and no one wants to talk to him, and it makes me sad. But
yeah, it's a bummer. There's an undercurrent of is it speciesism happening here? Is it because he's Ferengi? Or like, are they just
Quark's
clicking?
brother?
Yeah.
Is it because he's like, had the switch from working in the bars and now working in as an engineer? So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's definitely interesting. I think about that too. That I love how excited or how surprised that Miles is that he completed his work so quickly and was like really impressed with him. I was like, yeah, he deserves some recognition. Like recognize Rom.
Yeah. And now I can make him a co-conspirator.
Exactly.
Right.
Station.
O'Brien concocts that fabrication to Rom about like, oh, this is all actually a top secret Starfleet operation. But O'Brien's making the same mistake that a lot of people on the station make. It's just like assuming Rom is really dumb, and just being like, oh, this idiot will believe this. Like, yeah, Cisco, Odo, all of them, like they're in on it. At least some of them are, but they're gonna act like they don't know what's going on. So just help me do these modifications. Super important.
I love when Rom is like culpable deniability. Like I love the way he says that, and he's like super excited. Like I think Rom is such a ride or die, and like in this episode, I really love that he is committed to this bit, and like he's not going to do anything, even when he feels like, oh, I think something is wrong, and Miles isn't being completely honest with me. He still consults with O'Brien before he changes, like before he understands anything. So I just love that he was so committed and loyal,
And he knows what's going on when Miles doesn't. He's like, Miles has that great line. He's like, I've been so busy with what she's making me do. I missed the forest for the trees. That's something that I love about Rom is he's socially awkward. I do wonder if this show were on today, if he would be written explicitly to have some alien version of autism, or some other kind of neurodivergency, because his social awkwardness is such a compelling part of his character that I feel like it would be more explicit if it were written today. He's wonderfully endearing. Like I get people finding him or people on the station on his team finding him slightly annoying, but it's what makes him endearing to me.
I agree. Yeah.
Well, Rom and O'Brien get busy working on modifications throughout the station, and then O'Brien is interrupted again, this time by Dax. And this is a fun way for them to be discovered, but it was just Dax's own personal weirdness that she was up in the middle of the night scanning the wormhole for radiometric anomalies, because she's the weirdo who would do that when she couldn't sleep.
I love how Miles looks at her. He's like, unbelievable. Like this nerd got up in the middle of the night to look at the wormhole.
But like, what are the odds? He's like, I would have gotten away with this, except Jadzia couldn't sleep for some reason.
God damn it, Dax, you fucking nerd. Go to bed.
Yeah.
I'm trying to save my wife.
Yeah, and it's so funny to me because I feel like any other time he would have been so impressed. He'd be like, oh, thank God you woke up. Like, this is so great. Like, you're so smart. And in this specific time, right, because it's going against his saboteur stuff. So I just like love the look on his face. Like, it's just like, he's just in disbelief. Like, of course this would happen.
He's got to play dumb after that too, because then like he's just gonna be like, these are some weird modifications. They get like the late night meeting. They wake up Odo. They wake up Cisco. Avery Brooks is so good in this scene too. He seems so like pissed and like he just wants to be back in bed. And they've established on the show before he's not a morning person. They say like you don't talk to Captain Cisco in the morning until he's had his first cup of Fractigino. So
Yeah.
I like him being all pissy with, and he's so like short tempered with O'Brien when he's like, well, what do you think, Chief? And then Miles is just like, yes, and he's like, yes, what? Like, I'm asking you a question, damn it! Like,
Yeah, I love the way he pronounces what so much. Like it's like, yes, what? Like it's so like like just extra and so irritable. Like he's so done and it's so good. But I do love that O'Brien is like trying to undersell the threat to the station this whole time. Like he's like, oh, this is just all micro stuff. Like it's all just slightly off spec. Like
right, it's harmless.
maybe we
it's
don't need
harmless.
to be
Fine,
looking
it's
into
fine.
this. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like,
It's
can we
really
just
funny.
can we just ignore it for another 2 hours, 20 minutes, and 13 seconds, and maybe it'll
Yeah.
all work out? Like,
Yeah. I do like too when Miles gets the call from his daughter and Sisko's like, go ahead. Like, I
Go
love
ahead.
that. I love that because he's so frustrated and irritated, but also like is still standing by his moral of like family first.
Yeah,
Like Sisko is always family oriented, and so I love that he's like, yeah, I'm really irritated with you right now, but go take this phone call from your kid. You
like
know?
he would never tell him not to go take the call, but like he was still like super irritated about it.
Yeah.
We're like
yeah.
in the middle of trying to figure out who's sabotaging my station, but like
Right.
he's a dad and he gets it. Like you gotta take a second.
Mm-hmm.
But this is scary to me when you see the Pah-wraith as Keiko brushing Molly's hair, and when she like pulls on her hair, and Molly's just like, "Ow, mommy!" It's just like that's pretty good tension right there.
And really good acting by the Pah-wraith to be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, honey." Like it felt so believable when she said that
Yeah.
too. I was like, "Oh," like
Yeah.
so threatening.
It
She-
really has
she can
two
think.
hostages,
Yeah.
Molly and Keiko both.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and it's such a sociopathic way of reminding Miles that I'm in control here.
Mhm.
Just kind of hurting his daughter. Like, ooh.
Yeah. Oh no. So bad.
So this is when Miles throws Rom under the runabout, and he says, like, okay, I think I know who might be sabotaging the station. And then they have Odo go arrest Rom, and O'Brien gives them that wink, like, there you go, Rom, it's all part of the plan. O'Brien's kind of thinking like, okay, Rom can be my useful idiot. And then it turns out Rom
Yeah.
is the savior. Rom is the first person on the station to figure out everything.
I do love that little wink of reassurance though, because I was gonna be so mad if O'Brien just like completely ignored like throwing Rom under the bus,
Yeah.
And like if Rom was looking at him like that and O'Brien just like completely ignored him, I would have been so angry. Like I'm so glad that we got that little look, like, okay,
Yeah.
it's all gonna work out. Don't worry. Like we got this.
It was a good move. Good,
Yeah.
good direction, good acting in that moment to be like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's when we get the revelation of the Pah-wraith objective and how they actually stop it. When Rom won't even confirm his name, he won't talk to anyone but O'Brien. So O'Brien's called in to the brig to talk to Rom, and this is when Rom is like, "Chief, why are we trying to kill the wormhole aliens? You know that you're turning the station into a big chronoton beam emitter. That's gonna kill them. They're temporal beings." None of this had like occurred to O'Brien, so it's like it was just Rom's brilliance.
yeah.
Mhm.
And his looming relationship with Lita.
Yes. So this is right before we learn that Lita and Dr. Bashir have broken up. So they confirmed that in Let He Who Is Without Sin, and so this is probably like they're in their pretty heavy like talking phase. Getting to know each other, and that's another thing that I was saying. This episode, not only does it build on the stuff that came before, but it leaves plenty of foundational stuff for later episodes, like the Rom marriage, and even like Rom's rise to becoming the head of state of the Ferengi Alliance, one of the more powerful Star Trek superpowers in the Alpha Quadrant. That's kind of a big deal, but it's like this is foundational to that culmination of his arc as well.
I also love that when he does like name drop Lita as a source for the Bajoran legend for Cosmoran, like he's also like crediting her. Like he's like he's not trying to take the credit. Like I feel like that's very honorable. He says he's a good listener and he's like regurgitating what he's learned. And I think that's such an honorable trait to just be like, like I'm not trying to get credit or like be right here. You know, like
It's not, here's what I know.
It's genuine like information. And I think that
here's
was
something
really
cool
sweet.
I learned from Lita. Yeah, I think you're right,
Yeah.
Taylor. It's further endearing me to Rom because he's
I
like,
know.
he's
so
being so
sweet.
sweet about it. It's like, oh, Lita told me this really cool thing that I think is what's happening here.
Yeah.
Showing his sources.
Mhm.
You know,
Yes.
Yeah, it's more credible
credit,
like to have a Bajoran give you the Bajoran legend than it would be, you know, maybe otherwise. So
this is the first mention of Costa Morin. They later in Deep Space Nine they'll pronounce that as Costa Mogen, but
It's a different thing.
Costa
Morin is the legend. Costa Mogen is the entity.
It's weird because sometimes when they have when they use the word Costa Mogen, it's like sometimes they sound like they're talking about a specific Pah-wraith, and sometimes it sounds like a group of Pah-wraiths. So I don't know. Maybe it depends on like what translation of the Bajoran text. Like it's like the King James version or something else, you know. But
yeah, well, if you want to get into Bajoran, let's talk about English. Like, which you are you talking about? You?
Yeah, like
or you over there?
No, if anything, having like those inconsistencies makes it more realistic. Actually,
yes.
I
Language.
one of the writers, I think it might have been Renee Echeverria, but one of the DS9 writers said that they didn't like saying Costa Morin because they were scared someone would say it as like Costa Moron. So it's like, okay, we need to come up with better word there. But when O'Brien goes back to work on the station, Odo has his Columbo moment. You know, this Odo is very like, "Hey, Chief, just one more thing."
Yeah,
I like that he's slowly building on. Like he's telling O'Brien, like I've caught you, but he's being so slow about it, you know. And I love that he is just like O'Brien is just saying there, like, yeah, I've been busy repairing things. Like, yeah, that thing was broken, blah, blah, blah. And I love that Odo is just like letting him just keep, you know, digging his grave a little bit. It's really, I don't know, very Odo to be like, these are all the facts that I've acquired, you know?
It's a great through line in his character too, where he's like, he's not going to just tell you like, Chief, I sussed you out. He's gonna build his case step by step so that you know I am brilliant. I figured this out, and you're about to. Oh no, I'm being punched. Great.
I also love that he's. Oh, sorry. I also love when Odo says, "Oh, you didn't cover your tracks very well," and then Miles is like, "Yeah, I just didn't have time." Like, I think that was such a great conversation between them because Odo knows that Miles is smarter than this, and that he wouldn't really
mutual
be
respect.
doing this. Yeah, for sure. So I really liked that before he got his, you know, lights punched out. So
there's another episode a few seasons from now with Time's Orphan where they're trying to escape the station, and Odo's like, tisk tisk, Miles, if anybody could have gotten off the station without alerting us, I would have thought it would be you. And again, he's like, I ran out of time. And that time Odo just lets them go rather than get punched. Like I've said this on the Salon. One thing that I think was a bit of a missed opportunity for Deep Space Nine was deepening some relationships that we didn't get to see. And Odo, for me, is the linchpin. Like, I think him and Miles certainly, like we were just saying, have a mutual respect for each other's mastery of their industry. But in addition to them, I always felt like a deepening friendship with Jadzia, especially after her Jintara, where he learns what it's like to be a joined Trill and how wonderful that is to experience different solid lifetimes. And she learns what it's like and how much joy he gets from being a shapeshifter. That if they had had a deeper relationship that permeated through the seasons, and like, you know, RIP, but like Vic Fontaine was overused. And so having Jadzia be the one that helped nudge him and Kira together, and sure, use the holosuite in Vic's program, but I always thought that would have been really great. And so like it just back to this moment, Odo having respect for Miles in this moment, being like, you you should not have been caught. What's going on? Like, that's his real question in this scene. He's like, you could have got away with this. What's actually going on? That's the one question he can't answer.
Well, it's like Taylor said, everyone's real smart in this episode. And Jadzia's smart, Odo's smart, the Pah-wraith is smart, O'Brien's smart, Rom is the smartest, I guess. But yeah, no one is dumb. No one seems dumb in this episode. But yeah, after Odo is knocked out, Miles does have a plan, though. He's figured out how to take out the Pah-wraith. The audience doesn't know it yet, but
real quick, one thing I was going to mention: it's not just Rosalind acting cheesy. Odo, when he gets knocked out, he gives a little bit of like he gives a lot of wobbly head, and it's fucking great. Renee was such a great actor, man. That was a great moment.
Renee Aubergenois was like a famous master of physical comedy in the stage world. He was like I've heard Armin Shimmerman talk about like, oh my god, if you're a stage actor, Renee was a legend. Like he could he had so much physicality and could just do hilarious stuff or all kinds. So yeah, I guess he was kind of hamming it up a little bit there, but
yes, Miles has a plan. Sorry.
So he takes off he had figured out that the Pah-wraith would want to run about, and then we have like that conversation with Dax, which I guess is just there to like add some tension when Jadzia is like, well, just one more question. Did you enjoy your birthday?
That made me chuckle so hard, like, because you're expecting some kind of suspense, like tension, like you said, and it's cut with that. And he's like, oh yeah, it was full of surprises, and we know he hates surprises, like he said that earlier in this episode. And she's like, good, that's my favorite kind, or whatever. I'm like, wow, like these characters are like so opposite, and like it was so good to like add that little bit of like comic relief in this really tense moment, but also like a great way to juxtapose them, so.
And I know they struggled early on trying to figure out like what is Dax, and I like we in universe we can chalk it up to the transition being rough, but her moving away from the stoicism to being like the role of a host is to have as full a life as possible. And so that moment in this episode was just her way of being like, did you have a fun party? Like, we wanted you to have a fun party. Like that was what was important to her. Even though like, I love that nerd. She's like waking up at 3 a.m. to run sensor sweeps. She's very concerned about her friend having a good party. It like the layers in this show is just great.
I totally agree, because everyone knows each other so well on this station that, like Odo, like we were just talking about, can tell that something's off with Miles because he should have gotten away with it. And, I like this Dax conversation where she's just wanting her friend to be super duper, another year around the sun kind of thing, and have a good life. And it's so realistic, like these little bits and pieces that they add to the characters in this show. Like it's so warming.
Well, thank you to Matthew Averett and the live audience for the $10 super chat. We really appreciate that. Matthew says, sorry off topic, but hello, Stan and Tex-Trek family. Have a great weekend, everyone. Be safe on your trip, Fatheree and Miss Taylor. Thank you so much, Matthew.
And again, for your $10, thank you.
You electrocuted Stan with that, but again, remind people that if you want to win a 2 weekend passes to Trek Long Island, email me at fathereeactual@textrek.com. But yeah, the station as a chronoton beam emitter is fired, but Miles shoots his own runabout instead of the wormhole, electrocuting his wife. Instead of slaying the prophets.
Yeah.
I'll say this though about this, like I know people like think this looks ridiculous, and it does, to be fair, but Taylor, this reminds me of just a couple of weeks ago when we were rewatching the other Star franchise movies. When we got to episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, which is a movie I'm not crazy about, but it has its moments, I guess. But yeah, like I think this is so much less ridiculous and over the top than like a super Palpatine shooting lightning bolts up at like a fleet of ships, you know. But it does, yeah. You said Palpatine Keiko about this.
Yeah,
that fan service film. Ugh. The Last Jedi was so good, and then they gave us a full $150 million fan service jerk off.
I agree with you, Stan. I'm in the same boat you are. I know opinions differ on that. Me and Taylor have different opinions on The Last Jedi. But that's
we had a colorful conversation about this. But yeah, I think that was really smart of Miles to use the chronoton beam that he's like spent all this time setting up anyway. So how convenient that it'll, you know, actually destroy the Pah-wraith.
That hard work doesn't need to go to waste.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that was really smart and a good way to trick like this ancient being, you know?
Yeah.
So it does kill it, I guess. Like we know for a fact that it dies. It doesn't drive it out. It's dead.
Yeah.
We know
they said the chronoton being kill the wormhole aliens. So.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what Rom said. So it would. I trust Rom.
I trust Rom. Yeah.
I mean, that was the entire.
I feel like they would show us like a light, like a non-corporeal being, like leaving if it was different. So.
Yeah.
Now the other thing though that's interesting is that the Pah-wraiths that possess Jake and Gul Dukat, they come out of like objects. But this one just came out of the cave into a person. We don't actually see the possession in the episode. But
maybe Keiko broke something in the cave.
Oh yeah, maybe that happened. Yeah, I like that's how I'm gonna. I think headcanon it probably happened going forward.
It's actually interesting that Miles does ask the Pah-wraith like, why did you possess Keiko and not me? And like, because if you wanted all these tasks done, you could have just possessed me or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they don't ever answer that because Bashir walks in. And earlier I had a fan head canon, but I already forgot what it was. But I don't know. I'm thinking that Pah-wraith really just wanted to do the birthday party.
Yes. Well, I thought about that when I watched earlier today, and I was like, you know, the line that I would have said if Julian had not interrupted was just like, you weren't there, like very matter of fact, like.
Okay, yeah, I like that too. Mm-hmm.
You weren't there, and I'm enjoying this body now. I have chocolates. I'm gonna put on a party while you get to work.
Yeah, and why do the work yourself if someone else can do it better?
Exactly.
But I guess I always assumed that this Pah-wraith couldn't body hop. Like it was like after getting Keiko, it was kind of stuck there.
Yeah.
It's more like
an orb or the temple.
Because it's more like deeply implanted in her. Like she doesn't have like the glowing red eyes or like the distorted voice or anything. So it's like it's buried deep enough in her to be hidden. So I think it can't leave.
Yeah, and the only mistake that she made was taking the runabout. She should have had him fire the weapon and then get in the runabout to go to the wormhole.
Yep, she was excited to go home.
Yeah, she wanted a front row seat.
Yeah, she got too confident. That's how a lot of you know, like serial killers and stuff, they get too cocky, they get too confident, getting away with everything. Or like, you know, certain heads of state that's like, oh, okay, like I survived an assassination attempt. I survived 93 felony charges. I guess I can do whatever the hell I want now. And maybe that will lead to their downfall as well. We need a chronoton beam. I know where it needs to be. But,
I do love that moment where, again, they imbue a little bit of humor in this so well. Where she's like, "You don't know how many centuries I've waited for this." He's like, "Let's get on with it." And Miles, you really need to learn patience.
Yeah. Well, I love that he's like also, I think, a little scared that they might catch on to his plan.
Yeah.
So he's like, hurry up before you realize what I'm doing, you know?
Let's kill these aliens. Come on.
But yeah, I was super relieved that Keiko was actually returned and safe. Like I was kind of worried, you know, after the like lightning situation that was very like scary looking, and I definitely was thinking there would be some kind of like physical issue or mental like change with Keiko. And I definitely had like this really big fear of, is the Pah-wraith for sure gone, or like are they just gonna like bury themselves deeper into Keiko and pretend they are Keiko for real? Like, because like we watched like the I, Borg episode last week, and at the very end Hugh like looks at Geordi before he leaves, so you kind of know like, oh, he didn't forget. And in this I was like, oh my gosh, like what if we get something where like the Pah-wraith does something similar, like where they have like this like moment where, oh, it might still be in Keiko. And I was so relieved
Yeah.
that we get this conversation with Keiko and Miles like in their quarters, like talking it out. I think was also super great. Like Miles even says to Keiko, like, we don't have to talk about this if this is difficult, or if it feels better not to talk about it. And I love that she is open, and she's like, no, it feels better to talk about it with you. Like you fought hard for me. And I think it was really good to see that conversation between them, because that kind of eased some of my fears of like, oh, the Pah-wraith is still there. But it also is such a great example of a really strong relationship where you can talk about hard things together and like work through things. And when Miles is another Miles Must Suffer episode where he's like captive, and like comes back and has all these issues that they want to talk it out, but it takes longer for him too. So I'm rambling, sorry, but overall I just really like this scene with Keiko and O'Brien, like having that like partnership coming back together. Like that was so satisfying to get that actual Keiko in this episode.
Yeah. It makes me wish, like I respect her not wanting to be a fully recurring character. Like Trevor mentioned in the chat, we've talked about this on the Salon too. She had young kids at the time, and so she didn't want to make that commitment. But how interesting it would have been with more of like setting up an arboretum on the station, more with her and Miles, more episodes like this. Like maybe it's not a Miles Must Suffer, but it's the O'Briens Must Suffer trope. Like get her into the mix. Rosalind Chao is a national treasure, and I love their relationship.
I really liked her as the school teacher too. Like I thought that kind of added to it, the Old West vibe that Deep Space Nine. It kind of feels like a town in the Old West, and like, oh yeah, like the school teacher and the bartender and the sheriff, and
you're not an actual teacher, but you're smart enough. You could do it.
Yeah. I really love Keiko so much. I really appreciate how supportive she is all the time. And I do agree that Miles isn't as great of a partner for her sometimes as she is for him, which I think is a pretty common, trope. But I love this like episode so much because he is fighting for her and his family so hard. And like, he's always so concerned about her. So I think it's really good to have like that centricness, like his focus on her, and really to highlight, because I feel like in some of the episodes we get with them together, there is like a lot of that banter and nagging like we talk about, and it's great to have this where it's like this is a strong partnership.
And then the last scene we get are Quark and Rom chilling in the bar, and it turns out Rom he did such a great job helping out the chief that he's been promoted to the day shift.
Yay.
And the day shift breakfast meal of choice, I guess, is a order of pancakes and a side of pineapple
And sausage. Yeah.
I love that this book ends the episode. Like I said earlier, I love this relationship. It's so cute.
I agree. I love bookend episodes like this, especially because I really like Quark, and he's like not in this at all except for this scene in the very beginning scene. And I love all of his crazy, colorful, layered outfits so much. Like it always brings me so much joy to see the Ferengi on DS9 because they're always just like decked out. And yeah, it's so wonderful. And I was so happy for Rom to be promoted. Like he went through his own like Rom Must Suffer episode, and like he came out on the other side even better. So
yeah,
and different cultural foods.
Yeah, and I also love the lines in here too where Quark says, "Well, glad things are going so well for you," and Rom's like, "No, you're not. but thanks anyway.
Yeah.
I think that's such a sibling thing, and also like it's kind of funny because it's also his ex-boss. So
Yes.
like it's a great little back and forth with them.
Rom understands Quark's flaws and loves his brother in spite of that.
Yeah, it's unconditional for sure.
Like he tells him that like when he becomes Nagus, and he's like, well,
It
I
makes
still
no
love you,
sense,
bro.
but I love it.
Well, I think he's also kind of a puppet figure for his mom Ishka to actually run the Ferengi Alliance, but I'm okay with that too. But that's all I got on this episode, unless either of y'all have any additional thoughts.
I think we understood the assignment and we completed it.
Nice.
Amazing.
Okay.
We love word puns.
Good pun there. On that note, I'm going to transition into the Gorn-egg section of the show, where I like to point out some of the Easter eggs, in-jokes, and continuity connections in the episode. Starting off, I want to talk about the creators of this episode. The director, Allan Kroeker, this was his first episode of Star Trek he directed. He would go on to direct a lot, though. He's going to... After this, he directs every single season finale of DS9, and then he goes over to Voyager to do their last 2 season finales, and then he does all 4 season finales of Enterprise. So I think it was like the season finale guy.
Wow.
I was going to say, we just did a Thumb Wars on all 4 seasons of Enterprise, and his name came up a lot. He did a lot of like, it's a hit. Go watch our series on that for our thumbs up or thumbs down. It's a lot of thumbs down, but some really good episodes were directed by Allan for sure.
And that's him here on the left for the YouTube audience. You can see the slide. But I also want to point out that the story of this episode was pitched by Robert Lederman, who also directed a couple episodes. He was an editor on TNG, and he directed I, Borg, which Taylor and I talked about with Sohel last week, and he directed Force of Nature as well. But he pitched a couple stories with David R. Long, and the writing duo that did the script for this episode, David Weddle and Bradley Thompson. This was also their first teleplay credit. I think they'd had like a story by credit previously. But they would go on to write a ton of Deep Space Nine episodes in the final 3 seasons of the show. So I like a lot of their scripting, David Weddle and Bradley Thompson. And then the possession factor. Here we have Keiko being possessed, but in the TNG episode Power Play, it's kind of the other way around, where Miles is possessed by a non-corporeal life form. There's also hostage taking in that episode. When
that's something. I'm glad you brought this up, because the episode is near perfect. We loved it. Obviously, we just talked about it, but touching on this, like having Miles say at some point, "I've been possessed too. This isn't over." Like maybe to Rom or something. Just a throwaway line to highlight that would have been fun.
Yeah, I got possessed one time on the Enterprise.
Yeah,
yeah, that's all they needed to say.
This is I mentioned this with when we talked about Prodigy, because of the truncated half hour of that show, they had to skip, or not had to, they got to skip a lot of the like, oh, we need to convince other people on the crew that this crazy thing this week is happening, even though they went through so many other crazy things. Like why does it take so long to convince people every week? I loved in this episode that it didn't. Like, he's like, one demonstration from the Pah-wraiths is like, okay, this is real, this is happening, this isn't kink, accept it. It was great.
And I want to point out another previous episode. Maybe the original O'Brien Must Suffer. I think you can debate on if there's one in season 1 or not. I think Storyteller arguably might be an O'Brien Must Suffer, but Whispers season 2, when O'Brien is all paranoid, thinking the whole station is against him. Very similar to this in some ways. But in that episode, Whispers, O'Brien mentions that his birthday is in September. which is weird that this is episode 5 of the season, so it's probably like near the beginning of the year, not anywhere close to September. But I don't know. Star dates are weird.
Would it not have been in August or September? Because didn't
it might have aired around then, but the actual star date would indicate it's like at the beginning of the year. So it's probably like March or something, but there's
maybe the clone was wrong.
Could be. It could have been like a sign that its memories weren't all like transferred correctly. But there's a line in that episode. I mean, the way they were acting, they might have been trying to pull off one of those surprise parties that I can't stand. Only my birthday is not until September. That's the line there. So we learned there that he does not like surprise birthday parties. It's had to be like the surprise birthday party from hell for him. And as I mentioned, the Pah-wraiths and the fire caves, there were fire caverns first mentioned in the season 1 episode, The Nagus. A line from Cisco about the Gratitude Festival. He says, "It's the biggest Bajoran holiday of the year. Major Kira says it's pretty spectacular, and I figured while we're on the surface, we could visit those fire caverns you've been wanting to see." So Jake was wanting to see, he was curious about Pah-wraiths way back in season 1. He wanted to visit the fire caves, which we will see the show kind of climaxes and ends in the final episode in the fire caves. And I just want to point out the chocolate that Miles got Keiko, the Tellurian mint truffles. We learned about Tellurian spice in the TNG episode The Most Toys.
Yep.
That was
that close up is a good shot of like that is just a gift box chocolate that they pulled from craft services.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they just like went and like bought that at like CVS like a few hours before they shot this.
I've had those. Those are delicious.
Yeah. And I also want to point out that Rom is kind of duped into doing a secret undercover mission for Starfleet intelligence, but not really. Later in season 6, when the Dominion is occupying the station, he's actually an actual spy for Starfleet. Quark has the line, "The Federation's more desperate than I thought."
Yes.
But he actually becomes an intelligence operative.
That was such a cute moment. He's like, "Rom, senior manager for events and clientele, but I'm actually a spy."
Yeah. Max Grodinchik really gave a lot of great stuff to this show.
Mm-hmm.
But don't tell anybody.
But that's all I got in Gornegs, and y'all heard us talk about this episode for over an hour, so you know how we feel about it. Please comment on YouTube or on Spotify or in the Tex-Trek Discord server or wherever, and tell us your thoughts. We might share them next week. Last week, Taylor and I talked about Borg, and we got some subspace transmissions from folks on that. On Twitter, Jill says, "The episode is a masterpiece, one of the few Trek episodes I rate 10 out of 10. Geordi's best episode, Guinan's best episode, Beverly's best episode, breathtaking conflict with Picard. It is, in a word, superb." So a lot of love for Borg there. And DBA Saul Goodman Esquire says on Twitter, "Remarkable to see Picard struggle against his own understandable hatred of the Borg to see Hugh as a real person. It took Guinan's to actually get him there, and both Goldberg and Stewart played it perfectly."
Yeah.
And on YouTube, our regular opinions no one cares about said, maybe Picard fences because someone said they could use a new sword guy. So yeah, maybe Picard was going to be the Sulu / Boimler / new sword guy on the Enterprise D. The opinions goes on to say, don't name them. That's how you get attached. Talking about like don't name the Borg that you found on the side of the road. And then Opinions was shocked to hear the episode we were going to talk about this week. He says, "The Assignment, really?" So yeah, The Assignment. So Opinions, tell us your opinions on The Assignment.
This person is aptly named Opinions no one cares about.
Oh.
Well, I care. So
don't name them. The assignment, really? Yes, really. How dare.
But that being said, I can now announce the backtracking retrospective episode we'll be talking about next week. We're going back to the animated series. If y'all thought the assignment was a weird episode to talk about, y'all aren't ready because we're talking about the Jihad. So, the animated series episode with Spock, Kirk, and a D&D party go on a weird cosmic adventure with space cats and lava and birdmen and cowardly lizard aliens voiced by the creator of Tribbles. So that'll be an interesting conversation. Another episode I don't hear a lot of people talk about.
I wonder why.
Also, an episode that would not be called the Jihad if it was made in the last 24 years or so.
Probably not.
A relic from the 70s.
Or it would be a very different story.
Yes. But I think we're going to have Joel and Aaron on board next week. Taylor taking the week off. But after that, we have some more stuff planned. And eventually, we will be talking about Strange New World Season 3, Starfleet Academy Season 1, whatever the hell else new Star Trek we get. So, But Stan, thank you so much for coming by and talking about some Deep Space Nine with us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. And if y'all want to hear more of my voice, Salon Trek in all of the places. We've got 2-part episode reviews going on this month. We're going to do Redemption next Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific. And like I said, Salon Trek on YouTube and all of the other places. Thanks for having us and me.
Thanks for being here.
My
I'm
pleasure.
really excited that we got to do this episode with you. I actually, when we were choosing like the backtracking retrospectives, like I was thinking it would be cool, like when we're having the guests to kind of pick some of the episodes that they're like really excited about and love more than maybe most people would. And like, this is such a cool one to be like, to get to talk to with you because, it is such a high one on your list. So it's cool to hear your thoughts.
No, thank you.
Yeah, we'll have to have you back sometime.
Yes, please. I'm a mediocre white man. I be having opinions, so I will gladly come back and talk about any episode.
Sounds good. And people out there, if you have episodes that you want us to do a backtracking retrospective on, please let us know. But if you happen to want the Jihad, then you're in luck. That'll be next week. And until then, as always, live long and prosper, y'all.
Subscribe to YouTube to watch the Tex-Trek podcast live or listen to us later on your favorite podcast platform. Follow Taylor and Fatheree on socials at TXTrek. Thank you and take care.